Hey everybody, this is Retro Challenge Gamer, and we are back with more Super Mario Kart Deluxe with Booster Pass 96 track tier ranking, and we're down to the last two videos. The last, 24 tracks or something like that? So let's get right into it with the Crown Cup. At this point, it's just a flip coin toss which of the last two cups we'll choose for the DLC in the base game, and this time I just decided to go with the Crown Cup. And we're gonna try the Cloudtop Cruise, which I was off by several seconds, so it didn't do so hot on this one. And let's discuss this track. There's a lot to discuss here. So, moving forward, this track has a lot going for it. In fact, I think this is better than Sky Garden track. So you start off nice in the clouds and the tree vines and everything, kind of like Cloudtop or Crowd, whatever. It's a world in Super Mario Galaxy, for sure, and it's one of my favorite ones. The music is phenomenal. And I like how it then transitions to a airship here, but the airship feels a little condensed and cramped and tight for what it is, and you don't spend enough time on it. I wish we had the opportunity to bounce from airship to airship, like maybe 2 to 3 airships in a row. We could like leap off and trick jump off onto each one as its tier stacks down, instead of this little weird route that we took with the lightning pads and everything like that and the booster things. I think that would have been a more interesting sort of track layout than what we got on the back end. So the first part starts off really strong with these bounce pads and going through some tight turns through the clouds and vines and stuff. Like, this part is great. I do like the fact how it just changes and it gives you a little bit more as you progress through the cloud section. Then it comes on here, and then it feels like things go wildly out of control after this point with the airport. You get cannon blasted out to this circular anti-grav portion, which is fine, but it feels like this is something we've already done in Piranha Plant Pipeway, It's just now, instead of underwater, you're in the air and you have lightning with these boost pads and stuff. But it feels like it's something that's already been done in another level, but better. Although I do like the addition of the small little leaf shortcut here. That's always nice. So definitely a plus in its favor. But overall, in terms of the look of this whole thing, this is a little bit of an odd one. Like, half the track is really, really good. And what's there is amazing. I like the fact that we actually got some airship time in Mario Kart 8. It isn't a lot. We all wish there was more. I think there was a track somewhere, I think it was either the DS or something, where it was just an airship, where it was like Airship Alley or something like that. And people wanted that sort of track to return, but it didn't. It didn't come back, unfortunately. And I think people were sorely missing it after coming hot off this track, which is amazing for part of it, and then just felt lackluster ending up the rest of the track towards the end. So that kind of gives me sort of a split opinion about how I feel on this particular course, So, Cloudtop Cruise, where are you? I'm going to say this is a tough one to grade, honestly, because I don't really want to call it average, because it's definitely a well-designed track, but the last half of it really just destroys it for me. I can't really say that this is a good track that I will play all the time. Despite the amazing music and visuals and just overall concept and novelty of it, I just feel like there's other tracks that are more deserving of that sort of role. So I probably would want to put it right here, because I do think it's more interesting and varied compared to like Royal Raceway, which is more of a basic track, and definitely above Neo Bowser City, for sure. But I always enjoy Merry Mountain more, despite the simplicity of that particular track with its loop and everything. So I think that's a perfect place to put Cloudtop Cruise. It's on the high end of average, but I don't mind playing it, but I'll not really select it when it comes up in the selection for online play. So we're just going to leave it at that and move on. Bone Dry Dunes, which I did beat by slivers of a second. Very nice. I always like it when I beat these times and everything. Makes it feel like I'm accomplished or something, Like I'm an actual good Mario Kart player. No, not really. I'm just average. I'm an average Mario Kart player. I do like how it starts off in sort of like this little desert bazaar sort of thing, and then we quickly get away from that. And I feel like it's moving more towards a desert bone graveyard sort of feel to the whole track, So the beginning part isn't anything too special to write home about, just a couple turns, some sand, some desert, little split in the path, and then it gets really tight, very confusing, very complex in terms of that tight right turn, and then it splits into two. The left path, I'm not even sure. I hardly ever take the left path. I always take this right path, so I can't even comment very much on what happens on the left path. And I can guarantee you, I have never once made it to that upper walkway there, that plank walkway above us. I have tried so hard to try and glide off the skeleton bones on the side to see if I can make that walkway up there, and I've never been able to do it, so I don't understand how other people are able to do it, but apparently it's possible. So things that are going in this track's favor is, despite the roundabout little split in the path there, you can go straight up the middle and do a tiny little shortcut if you want. There's multiple paths here, although I don't think either side is better than the other. Then I think most people take this path along the bone wall, which I guess would look better if you're on the ground to the left path. It might look a little bit more, make more sense that way. And then of course it looks like you would have to then hop on each of those quicksand spouts to make it across the gap there. But since I've always taken the bone route, I've never had to take the left route and deal with those quicksand little spouts. So I don't really know how well that part of the track actually feels. So I can only talk and speak to what I already know here and what I've been doing every single time I've taken this track. So this is definitely one of the more difficult tracks to run through just because of the tight turns. Like, I didn't even make the inner one there. And oh, that was a bad hit. I would have reset. This is done from 2 years ago, but if I had to do this again, I would have definitely reset and tried that speed run again. So visually, this is probably the most interesting desert track that we got. But overall design of it, I don't know. This is sort of a mixed bag for me. Like, the first part of the stage is really not that interesting, and it only starts getting interesting when you get to the second half, and there's the split in the road, and there's the bone, a section, wall, and then there's the left path, which I can't speak to, and then the jumping over the sand spouts, and then the final cave at the end, which is kind of a neat little closer to the whole thing, and then you go into the Shy Guy Bazaar and stuff, which apparently is another track that exists, but that never got ported over for some reason. So, but yeah, it's definitely a mixed bag, and I definitely cannot say it's a very good one. It's gonna have to go an average, but the thing is do I actually enjoy playing on it? And it comes down to fun. And unfortunately, I don't really have much fun playing on it, so now I'm having to start looking at it on the bottom tier of average. And it's hard. It's like, I feel like it's like right around here in terms of how much fun I have with it. And I think it's kind of, I'm gonna like kind of put it right here between Dolphin Shoals, but I don't know which side of it it's going to fall on. So I think I'm going to put it right there, Bone Dry Dunes, right behind Dolphin Shoals, but in front of Yoshi's Circuit. That feels like a good spot for it, honestly. So I have nothing else further to say. I think I've explained everything I can about Bone Dry Dunes. So far, the Special Cup isn't starting too hot. So moving on ahead to Bowser's Castle. This is the one and only Bowser's Castle I think we got in all of the base game. I know more people wanted more Bowser's Castle, but this is the one we got, and it is actually a phenomenal track for what we did get in the base game of 48 tracks. So let's see how well I did while I update the numbers in the meantime. Okay, there is a lot to talk about on this track. This is literally a death trap. I think one commenter on a Mario Kart 8 video mentioned that it felt like you were trespassing on this castle and you were like infiltrating it, even though you were running a race through the castle. So all the traps activate, and now it feels like you're in a place where you shouldn't really be. And it does have that sort of vibe, that sort of you shouldn't be here vibe. And it has all the classic traps and tricks and things like that to hurt you all along the course. And I like the use of anti-grav here. Sometimes I don't like the way it's used, but here I think it's used perfectly. And I do think... Ooh, oh, I got a little close to the lava there. I don't know if that hurts you or not if you accidentally touch it. But yeah, so let's start from the beginning of the track here. So automatically you're launched straight into the main foyer where the lasers don't start happening until the second and third laps. So it's kind of a pretty plain foyer until you make this turn into anti-grav. And then finally, this is where the traps would initially start with the fire wheels and the the ball and chain. This almost feels like Haunted Mansion a little bit. Oh, wow. How did I ever let that slide? That was a horrible time trial goof. And then you got the big Bowser there, so you have a split road. And depending on which one he's going to punch, you take the other one, or take the one he just punched and everything. You can trick off the waves, and then you got to do this big jump. So this is Bowser's Castle. It's all about spectacle. And then, of course, you go up the hill with raining rocks coming down, and then you're done. And then, of course, I like the fact that there's 2 different routes, and you can shoot off the left route for a little bit of extra speed on the boost pad there. So, definitely a hard track to get right, and a fun track to play with a bunch of people. On 200cc, this gets absolutely insane. It's not even funny. Like, I can't even play this on 200cc. I'm so terrible. But 150 or less, this is a very fun track, and I do like the ingenuity and the fact that it just keeps your interest all throughout. It never outstays its welcome for any one single part, and there's always something new to do every step of the way from beginning to end every lap. And I do like the fact that it does slightly change, like the lasers that start happening towards the beginning on the second and third laps. So it's never the same experience from lap to lap to lap. So all said and done, that was a fantastically strong course right there. There's nothing I can really fault it for that. Oh, this has got to go very good. I don't think it's the best of the best because me playing it is very difficult. It is hard, and it's not something that when it pops up in the selection list, I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to pick it 100% of the time. That is the track I'm going to play. No, I don't pick it 100% of the time at all. I might pick it if it's like one of the only ones up there that I like and there's nothing else that's above it in this list, then yeah, I'll go pick it. But in terms of do I enjoy it more than some of these other tracks? That's difficult then, ain't it? I think I do enjoy it more than Animal Crossing and Sunshine. I think it goes like right here on either side of Dragon Driftway. I can't decide which one I like better. Dragon Driftway is a little bit more boring of a track. There's less things to keep you occupied, but it's easier to work through, even on 200cc, if you're really good on the turns and drifting. So it's a tough sell between these two. But you know what? I think the novelty and the fact that Bowser's Castle tries to maintain your interest throughout the whole runtime, I think that ekes it out just a little bit above Dragon Driftway. But I prefer the aesthetic of Bangkok Rush and Sydney Sprint over Bowser's Castle, and it's not as difficult to get through. And I think that's where I'm going to put it, on the upper half of very good. So heading back to the final one of the Special Cup. This is Mario Kart 8's version of Rainbow Road, and dang, I beat this like about almost 5 seconds faster. That's great. I love it when I am that awesome by that much. So a lot of people didn't like the aesthetic for this particular Rainbow Road because they didn't really feel like it was a Rainbow Road. The space station aspect just didn't jive with how all the other Rainbow Roads are. But I like it. I like the fact that they actually tried something new. And speaking of crazy new, that hairpin turn, every Rainbow Road's gotta have one. That's the one for this Rainbow Road. But I like how you actually go into the space station proper right here, which isn't exactly part of the Rainbow Road, it's just the space station. And then you have two like barrel cannon jumps, one to the space station and one to get off the space station. And then this is like the Rainbow Road proper, really. And there's this massive shortcut, which I'm not really good at taking, but I do like the fact that there's multiple routes to get to the final curve to get right back into the starting line here. And that's the whole track. So overall, it's kind of a simple track, but what it tries to do is it tries to trip you up with its crazy turns. Like this forces you to brake drift, and if you don't know how to brake drift, you will learn how to brake drift if you want to make these turns, especially on 200cc. And I do like the fact that this changes every lap, where the arrows swap from lap to lap. And then I think it's always going to be the right lane coming out of there that will allow you to be able to do the shortcut. So once you know how you do the shortcut, there honestly is no reason to ever take the left lane. Ever after that, once you realize what to do. And then I think the boost pads on the right are kind of a misleading red herring, because if you take them, they just shoot you way too fast around the corner there, and you're never going to make the slight turn in to the starting line, and you'll just go shooting off the edge. So as a Rainbow Road, I honestly think this is one of the stronger ones. I really, really do. Despite the space station aesthetic that I think most people just don't care for, I think this is definitely one of the more stronger Rainbow Roads. It's got more of a cohesive theming, and it really sticks the landing with its crazy turns and layout and stuff like that, and novelty. Because I mean, come on, I mean, what other track are actually in a space station above the planet and everything? I don't think there's any other track like that. You could probably do the Rainbow Road for like the DS or something, where you fly on the rings of Saturn or the moon and stuff like that. But there's no real like space station there, you know? So let's discuss this particular track, Rainbow Road. This is definitely a very good track. I can't say that it isn't. So question is, what would I enjoy it more? I do enjoy it more than Shroom Ridge, but do I enjoy it more than Tick-Tock Clock and Piranha Plant Slide or Pipeway? I don't know. That's a hard one to gauge here. I know I prefer Coconut Mall, Singapore Speedway, and stuff like that more so than this Rainbow Road. That much I do know. And now that I think about it, I do like the simplicity of Shroom Ridge better. I really do. Because sometimes having no railings on Rainbow Road is awful, and I can shoot off, so I know that playing this on 200cc is probably going to get me very frustrated. And I think that's probably the deciding factor there, which pushes it down another notch. So yeah, it's just behind Shroom Ridge. I don't think I can put it any higher than that. Okay, yeah, moving on. There is the Special Cup for you. And we have two left, the Acorn and the Spiny Shell Cup. So we're going to start with the Acorn, and we're going to end with the Spiny Shell in the next video, y'all. Just so you have a foreshadowing of what's coming up next. So we're going to go with Rome Avanti, which we will not able to beat Gulia, Pauline. But this is another strong track. I know there's quite a few folks who don't care for this track very well, and I don't really know why. I mean, sure, it's not as detailed as some of the other later tour tracks like Madrid or, you know, Singapore Speedway and stuff like that. But I think this is a well-designed track, and I can explain why as we get through it. So, of course, the biggest focal point is the Colosseum in Rome. And I love the fact that you can just drift all up around the edge of it and then boost out of there. I think that's really neat to start the track off at the major selling point of Rome, which is the Colosseum. And then you go through some local ruins and everything, which is actually the case in Rome. There's some ruins on the side of Rome, the major current city proper. So I like the fact that they kind of mix the two together. And then there's this, I think we went around a roundabout. Which one is it? This one right here. We keep coming back to this roundabout, and I do like the fact that that is served as almost like a focal point for a lot of the laps. So we're going to scoot back around, and I think, is this the same one? Yeah, this is the same roundabout we just went through, but now we're just going in reverse, and we're going up these steps here. So I like the fact that, like other previous World Tour tracks that I thought were very strong, very good, it takes you through different environments, but then it has a central focal point that it keeps taking you back around. Like, here we are again at this roundabout here. And so, to me, that feels like good circuitous design for a World Tour track. And now we're going back around on the left side of the Colosseum. I think that's the Trevi Fountain, I think it's called on the left. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm a terrible tourist. And now we get to go through the Colosseum proper with these chain chomps, which aren't really threats, but they are kind of fun to see there. Like the beasts of the Colosseum. And we do a couple repeats here, but it doesn't feel like it's a repeat of a previous lap. It just feels like an extension of an existing one. And then, of course, now with that new addition of the trick jump ramp, you can now get a little glide time on that section and back to that roundabout and then to the end. So that was a very tightly designed track, and I do like the way it just circles you back around multiple times. So where would I put that then? Oh my goodness. It is a very good track. I don't think it's one of the best, but it is very good. It cannot be a Coconut Mall because it doesn't exactly keep your interest all the time, but it does have some gimmicks added to it. So it's got the chain chomps, in the third lap. It's got the little Monty moles or something that you can trick off of, poking out of the sewers. It's even got the little fuzzies on the third lap if you glide through their little circles up above on the third lap. So, I mean, it's got some stuff there. It's got some gimmicks that keep your interest, but at the end of the day, it's still running on roads through a city. But I do like the fact that it kind of transitions between ruins and city, and it keeps taking you back through Central Focal Point, which is just, as I said, the hallmark of a good World Tour Cup track. I think it's probably on par with Sydney and Bangkok Rush. Yeah, I think it is. And you know what? I think I'm going to change an earlier ranking, because I actually enjoy this one more than I would Rainbow Road, and I actually enjoy Sydney more than I enjoy Rainbow Road. So I think I'm going to put this above Sydney, and I'm going to change Rainbow Road to be below Bangkok. Yeah, that feels better. That feels better. So, mid-video, last-minute change for Rainbow Road. We're going to punch it down 3 notches because Rome Avanti just changed and recontextualized my opinion there. So yeah, we're going to keep it like that, and I'm going to have to adjust this view yet again. Okay, it's getting really messy now. DK Mountain. I know this is the, what is this, the last GameCube track, I believe? And, oh yeah, I beat this one. This one was a struggle for sure. So let me get down to the GCN here, 3DS, right? There we go, last GCN track. And let's talk about this stage. So DK Summit is similar in nature to the DK Mountain Cross or whatever, the snow one, where you have a small little section up at the front, and then you get cannon barrel blasted out to the top of the mountain, then you got to S-turn your way all the way back down and repeat the whole process. That's pretty much the whole track. It's very simple, but there are a couple little shortcuts you can do, which can spice up the gameplay a little bit if you know what you're doing, and can eke out that little extra victory if you want from skipping over a couple people, a couple spaces. Like if you angled yourself off to the right there, you could actually go on top of those rock ledges there and come down a little bit more straight away onto the next turn, so that's nice. These half pipes, I'm not really sure why they're there, because they kind of are a little bit out of your way to get to them. However, this is an insanely hard skip. I practiced so hard. I spent, I think, an entire day trying to get this time trial, because it's just like, I know I can beat the onboard time trial time from Funky Kong if I'm able to perform this skip perfectly 3 times in a row. It was awful, y'all. It took me over a day to get this right. And once I was done, I'm like, my hands were shaking, my wrists were hurting. It was so bad I couldn't do any other time trials for the remainder of that day. It was just so bad. I mean, that's just, you know, when you get old, your wrists, they're just not the same as they used to be. But yeah, you want to take this turn tight, and then you want to brake turn. I brake, I think I pressed the brake button twice on this turn, and then you want to go up high so that you're kind of facing back the other way as you boost and leap over. I think that's the trick to getting it every time. And then, of course, I like the bridge and how you can trick over it as it's going back and forth. That's kind of neat. I like that. But yeah, there's really not much else to talk about. This is just a crazy drift boost track, really. I mean, it's all based on how well you can drift and boost, and if you can take that shortcut or not. Would I chance that shortcut in competitive play? Ugh, I would have to practice it a lot. I would definitely try and see if I could take that, yeah, see, be on that upper rock ledge on the right there. I could definitely see if I could try and get off the boost pad there and see if I could make that shortcut, but this one is hard. It took me a lot of practice, and even then, I can't consistently get it. This was kind of a lucky... Ooh, yeah, look at that. That was a lucky shot for me. I'm glad that I had a triple boost there. Otherwise, I probably would never have made it. So, DK Summit. Is it fun? Is it something that I can see myself picking and playing and everything? DK Summit. Do I like it? Yes. Is it best of the best for me? No. But it is a insanely better one than DK Mountain Cross or DK Summit or whatever. DK Mountain is a phenomenal, very good track. And I do like the fact that it's very fast-paced. It's got a couple shortcuts to take if you really know what you're doing. And it is something that I will play. It is very fun to fight with other players to get that good position at the very end. It's like an extreme version of Dragon Driftway, but it goes faster. It's not as boring, so obviously it's going to go higher than that one. And I feel like it's a more faster-paced and interesting track than any of the 3 tour tracks that I put here as well. So I think I'm going to have to put it somewhere up here, but I'm not really sure if I enjoy... I think I enjoy it more than Shroom Ridge, but I think Piranha Plant, Pipeway, and TikTok Clock is probably better than that in terms of just fun factor for me. So I think that's where it's going to go in the very good range, is right there, on the very high end. Yeah, that seems about right. Now we're on to Daisy Circuit, which I did beat by barely a second. This one's a simple one. There's not much to talk about here, but we'll go over it. So aesthetically, this is very pleasing. So early evening, afternoon, just as the sun's starting to set, and a beachside resort town. I love the atmosphere. This is fantastic. I love going into the main plaza here and everything with possibly the window shops, and you can actually, here's a little shortcut you can do. I think it's the one and only shortcut, honestly. And then you got these 2 little fountain ones right in front of, I think, the Daisy Resort. I really like that very much in terms of just aesthetics. Then you go on this underpass, which is underwhelming. It's nothing really nice. And then I do like the fact that you can go around this lighthouse. There's been other lighthouses and other tracks before, but I think this is the first time where we've actually had to make a loop around a lighthouse. So for that, it gets little bonus points for giving us something to do that we've not done before in a previous Mario Kart track. And that's pretty much the whole track. It's very simple. It's basically like a loop, a single loop like Baby Park, but it has a little offshoot off to the side with the lighthouse and everything. So it does do a couple things differently compared to, you know, just a simple loop. I do like the additional sections it gives you, and then I also like it gives you an option to be on the sidewalk, which actually I found out later protects you from certain things like red shells and stuff like that. So if red shells come in your way and stuff, and you happen to get on the sidewalk and the red shell's off on the main road, it hits the sidewalk curb and it doesn't reach you and it just breaks. So being on the sidewalk is almost like a little measure of protection if you can stay on them. So that's kind of neat. I like that. I like that little detail. And if you know, or if you have a mushroom to zoom through the shortcut, you can just pass by a bunch of people on gliding, and you know how I feel about gliding, so that's definitely a positive in its favor. But this is an underwhelming part of the track, the underpass. It's more of just, it seems like a transitional section than anything that's noteworthy or unique. So I'd say the real spots, the real standouts, are the 2 statue fountains in the center, which you can glide over or drive past. Either one, you have full choice. And the lighthouse loop. That's like the 2 major selling points of the track, I think. Everything else is more or less what you'd expect from a simple track like Daisy Circuit. But unfortunately, I feel like it's an average track. It's on the high end of average. I feel like it's a good simple track. There's simple tracks, and then there's good simple tracks. For example, like Mario Kart Stadium. I feel like this is on the upper end of good simple. And I think I would enjoy playing this more so than I think Royal Raceway. Yeah. Well, it's on par with Royal Raceway, but Royal Raceway is longer. But Royal Raceway has that nice gliding mechanic, which Daisy Circuit also has, if you know, to do the shortcut. So, you know what? I'm going to put it back behind Royal Raceway. It doesn't win out over that, but they are comparable. They're about on the same level for me. So we'll leave it at that and then move on. If I keep thinking about it, I'm just going to second guess myself. And then the final one, Piranha Plant Cove. Oh, I was not able to beat the time. Sophia with PD Piranha. There's a lot to discuss with this particular one. This is another tour track, but honestly, I would consider it an original. This is the last original course. There you go. That came with the booster pass. But this is treated, and I think it was initially introduced as a World Tour track. It's just an original Mario World Tour track. To that end, every single lap is different, as you can see by the crazy map layout. You're going to be going through different routes on every single lap. So I do love the fact that we get another full underwater sort of level. There's many levels that include underwater segments, but there's very few levels or tracks where it's like 80% of it or majority of it is under the water. So this is what I would consider a nice, almost fully underwater track with just very few things on top of, atop of sea level. So I love the fact that it takes you in and out of the whole water section, and you basically, there's a couple extra gimmicks here and there. Like this part's a little boring. It's wide open turns and everything. There's nothing really to occupy your time. So there is some things that detract you. So the first part of the first lap was pretty strong. The second part of the first lap is a little bit lackluster and weak. But then you go start off another strong segment. I always like driving through ruins. So driving through some flooded ruins on some good tight turns and things like that really starts off the second lap extremely strong. So we got strong, not so strong, strong first lap, and now we're back underwater. And this is still remaining strong. You got little things you can trick off of. There's thwomps underwater, which is a rare thing to see. And then you got this tight turn. Yeah, so all of the second lap was really, really good. A lot of things to keep your interest. And then you get to see, the eel above you, so that's kind of neat. You get little clams with potentially item boxes. There's a little shortcut you can take. I feel like this part right here with the sunken ship is beautiful visually, but I feel like there's not much here to direct your attention. So here it's mainly just focusing on other players and jockeying for a better position. So the middle part of the third lap is a little bit lackluster. And then you go underneath, and then of course there's the eel. It can reach out and snap at you. That's kind of fun. At least you can see it coming, And then you got some more further tight turns, and then I think you have a final turn back to the start. Yeah, that was a fantastically good original track for the World Tour course and everything. So now I got to figure out, where does that put it? Piranha Plant Cove. It's not best of the best, for sure. It's 2 out of 3. So 2/3 of the track was very interesting and very great. And then like a third of it, part of the first lap, part of the third lap, was just not as good and a little bit boring. It didn't keep your interest throughout, because after like you've been through the first 2 laps, you're in the third lap and you're underwater with some more nondescript turns and everything. It's just like, I've done this before. I've been here before. This is nothing new, despite the fact you are going through new sections of the course. It just didn't feel like there was much there for you to do. So how much fun would I have it here? I think I would actually have more fun on it than I would Rainbow Road, Bowser's Castle, or anything underneath. I think I would have more fun on Bangkok Rush and Sydney Sprint, because those are more compact and tighter tracks with some more central focal points and better design, circuitous design around their cities that they are based off of. So I think it fits right smack dab in the middle there, middle of the pack of very good tracks. So yeah, I think that's where we're going to end it there. We have 2 more Grand Prix, everybody, to go through, and then we are done. 8 more tracks total, and we have ranked all 96 tracks. We are almost there. So I'm not sure if there were any hot takes this particular time around. I think they were all pretty reasonable where I placed them. So hopefully you all agree. Until next video, everybody, see you all later, and stay retro.